and we'll sit and talk about shit, everyday bullshit.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me on your show here. It's great to promote, our coalition and our movement across the state, also nationally. It's a national movement. The Virginia Hemp Coalition, as you said, was founded in 2012, and we were really instrumental in getting the hemp farming legalized and the hemp industry legitimized in Virginia. And with that came a very important puzzle piece for the national bill. So we were involved with the 2014 Farm Bill, which opened up hemp farming to universities for research. We were able to kind of start our industry that way, but we really needed, of course, to open it up commercially and legalize the products for everybody to use. So that was the work we had to do in 2018 for the Farm Bill. We had a judiciary chairman in Virginia, which was named Bob Goodlatte. He was a staunch anti-cannabis. He's very, very powerful, but he hated cannabis, and he didn't like hemp. He would give letters. To his credit, he would respond to people when they wrote in about it and urging him, and he would come back and say it's a gateway drug. I don't want anything out there to look like it. We don't want to promote anything, even though you can't use this as a drug. We don't want to promote anything cannabis, and he was very adamant about that. Well, we sprung into action and worked really hard, and we changed him completely to loving hemp and realizing the difference. And we were able to get his blessing to get it through so that it would be on the Farm Bill. Without his blessing, there's no way we would have had a legalized hemp industry in 2018. So Virginia was a huge puzzle piece to get us to the next level of cannabis legalization in general, but definitely hemp legalization across the nation. So we're very proud of that, and our volunteers and our farmers. We hosted events. We did a lot of lobbying up at Capitol Hill, or we really don't call it lobbying because no one was being paid for it, but it was advocacy work by our members. But we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that, and it did pay off. And so right now, we're dealing with all the pushback on the cannabinoid industry and the cannabinoid rights. So the Hemp Coalition, we're all about people's rights for all cannabis, and we want it to be legitimized. We want intoxicating cannabinoids to be treated like alcohol and regulated, much like alcohol, where they're on store shelves, and you need an ID. And then non-intoxicating cannabinoids need to be regulated like dietary supplements on the store shelves, like a melatonin or whatever. So it's pretty simple, it's straightforward, and we also are against monopolies completely. We do have a monopoly system in Virginia currently,
We
a
do.
pay-to-play system. Yes, and we're very adamantly opposed to that. We're adamantly opposed to using government force to create winners and losers. We want an open free market. We want the folks that really need this industry, the middle class, the lower class, to have some opportunity in this new emerging field. The billionaires, the big pharma, the big marijuana folks, they need to just stay in their lane and also not get, at the very least, not have advantages and monopolies. We would like to even more see more opportunities go towards our farmers, our small businesses. Basically, we're a coalition of consumers, small businesses, and farmers. Basically.
Opening up Pandora's box.
No, I don't think so, because I know that when we advocated for all this, I mean, Delta 8, which was the big kind of changing force, and these lesser known cannabinoids weren't that popular, weren't that prevalent out there. And so that we didn't understand that. And at first, when Delta 8 came on board, I was a little bit opposed. I was a little bit like, it's not natural, and it's not this, it's not that. But then I came to find out that Delta 8 is a cannabinoid, and it should be a marketable product. It just needs to be done safely and properly. And we know that there's a lot of folks that we're not doing that. So our coalition was really out there to legitimize the industry and get it above board on its own. And then also, just like you have with any other industry, there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be some bad actors out there. But we felt that the more that you didn't have the regulation by the FDA and by the states, that's why they kind of allowed this to happen. So we're again in that kind of catch-22 where we need some simple regulations. We need to legitimize this industry and these products so that we can sell them just like we do tobacco and alcohol. I mean, which are things that we feel are much, much more harmful. We don't even feel like a lot of the wellness products of cannabis is even close to comparing it to them in terms of public health. But we do understand there needs to be some, realistic check marks like 21 and over for anything that may intoxicate you.
Definitely. The Farm Bill is probably not going to make it in 2024, correct?
I've been hearing that. I've been hearing a lot of different things, but I just it's really tough right now for them to compromise on anything. And so we know right now that there's a very bad amendment, that basically tries to take away all intoxicating cannabinoids from the
The Miller
marketplace on
Amendment.
a national. Yes. And there's a comment period that's open right now. I don't know if you're going to share that with in the comments of your video,
Most
folks
definitely.
to do. Yeah, that'd be great for them to go ahead and comment and talk about how we should not be, making things illegal. We're making parts of the plant. We're going backwards with cannabis policy here, and that's not going to help anything. We're still going to have cannabis marketplace, whether it's legitimate or not. And so this is what these politicians have to wrap their heads around, that we can either have legitimate business that's above board and show in the light of day that's regulated, or that should be regulated fairly, not with monopolies, right? Or we have another system which is black market, and it still exists either way. So we're just trying to talk some sense into these folks and realize that you can prohibit whatever you want, but it doesn't actually prohibit the products from getting to consumers that want them. And like again, just is very simple. It's not rocket science. Regulate it like alcohol, tobacco, and let it be a free market.
I
We don't
agree.
have interstate commerce control over. You can't take beer out of the state. It's ridiculous. But alcohol does have its consequences sometimes, just like any substance does, right? So I don't. The double standards, we're over the double standards, and that's kind of our main focus here. And that's why I think all of cannabis type advocates should be focusing on pushing for what the double standard here, because they really can't say anything back when you hit them with that logic of like, why are we not treating this like alcohol at the very least, when it's less dangerous and it's something that consumers want and should have a right to consume for their health and wellness.
That the Miller amendments aren't going to actually make it into the final Farm Bill. What do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, we can't be too sure. We didn't think that it would pass, and it did, in the first place. So I would say we need the effort of everybody to go ahead and, I mean, we're meeting with Abigail Spanberger, who is a very, prominent congresswoman here in Virginia and is running for governor of Virginia. And so we need her support. She's a front runner, and she may very well be our next governor. And we need her clear support. And they were kind of saying that they were misled, which of course they were misled by a lot of people who are against the cannabis industry, and that includes big marijuana and big pharma and big health as well. And so they're getting these messages from people that they trust, and then they're telling them, oh, it's good for the farmers, it's good for no, of course this is not good for the farmers. To take away a whole market of our products of hemp is not good for any farmer or any cannabis business. It's not good for small businesses. So yeah, it's not good for the economy. But the other side that wants us moved out of the way, they're of course getting different messaging to these Congress people. And so it's unfortunate. There has been a war on hemp and a war on the free market for cannabis, because the big players only want the market for themselves, and they use this false logic that cannabis has to be nuclear codes and severely regulated, more unlike anything else, and only a few people can be granted the licensing. We only have 5 licenses in Virginia, and those have been conglomerated into a few.
So they're all working as a team to sort of
Oh yeah,
dominate the market.
they're all the same beast in a way, and that's why they all got the licenses. The fix was definitely in, and we tell people to boycott. I mean, the big marijuana. It's not, buy anywhere else. Buy from the free market. Buy from other places, but do not purchase your cannabis through these companies. You're hurting yourself. We're hurting Virginians. We're hurting our future when we give them a dime, and their quality is less than you should be getting as well. The profit margins are more than they deserve because it's an inferior product. I hear complaints all the time. I mean, I'm sure they're getting better, but their lobby was the main ones coming after our industry and had a lot to do with these insane laws that they have. They took away, our CBD industry, even basically having to reformulate everything. And they're coming out with the scare tactics, and all of a sudden they got what they wanted, and then all of a sudden you don't hear that news anymore. You don't hear that PR because they stopped their PR campaign. They didn't have their pay to play people that they have out there in the media saying that, oh my goodness, we have such a terrible thing now that hemp was legalized, right? In Virginia, everybody's dying. They're not dying, and there was some issues that we do have with edibles, and that we need to focus on that and candy-like things, and of course, we're all for that. We're all for keeping cannabis out of the hands of kids, but they took that to another level to crush our industry, and they were very, they took them 2 years to do it. We stopped them the first year, but they came back and just spent more money and more PR, and they've
Yes.
infiltrated Normal. Normal has been just a puppet for the monopolies. So it's very unfortunate what's happened in Virginia. I just hope people that listen to this realize like what we have to spend our money the right way. We shouldn't support monopolies. We shouldn't support fake cannabis orgs that don't really fight for the rights of the people, that want to keep the status quo system of monopolies. That's not what the people want. That's what the monopolies want. And so they've sort of, there isn't really any really great cannabis orgs in Virginia, I would say, except for the Virginia Hemp Coalition that are fighting for the people. There's been a lot of heat on them about this issue, and so I think they might actually throw a bone to the hemp industry or somebody that's been working in a localized, smaller business type model to say, hey, look, we're giving a license to these folks. But see, that's just tricks. That one person, that's a monopoly, and that doesn't give the whole hemp industry and all the other people the right to compete. So that doesn't do anything for us, and we're not going to say, oh, thank you so much, you gave one hemp business a license to. So I could see that happening, but also, like you said, $18,000 just to apply. They made 700. They're only going to have one license out of that. So they made seven. We did the math. It was seven hundred fifty
700.
thousand dollars out of the state of Virginia, and they got that for one license, and they took everybody else's money. And you got people that probably didn't even have a lot of that money to begin with, and they were just saying, "Well, let's just try to do this, right?" And that's up in smoke. They're not going to see that ever again, and they're not going to ever probably even consider their thing. They already have a couple people picked out, I would think, because that's the way it's been run. But yeah, it's vahemp.org. V as in Virginia, vahemp.org is our website. We'd love for people to become members, businesses to become members, support us. We run on a very tight budget. We get some support in Virginia. We don't obviously get enough of the funding that we should to compete fairly with what's we have in front of us. The other side is well funded, and but so just making a pitch out there. We'd love to have your membership. Go on the website. We've got links for that and donations as well. So yeah, that'd be great if folks want to support us and be involved with our
I love it.
community. We have a lobby day every year. That's huge. We have an after party. That's always things. We always try to have some events. We've had online things with legislators, and we do a lot of behind the scenes, lobbying work, pro bono lobbying work. And nobody
Excellent.
gets paid in our team. It's all volunteer work. Yeah, they're for more monopolies and government control, and yeah, they're all on the same coin. It's big pharma, big marijuana, big health. They're all a conglomerate together, and they don't want to see the people have the plant. They've been fighting this, and they're still holding on to it. They can't let it go, And it's just a waste of everyone's time and resources. We're gonna win this battle eventually. We're gonna have a free market in Virginia. I mean, we have one way or not, whether that it's taxed and regulated. The politicians are missing out on all that, but and the state of Virginia is missing out on all that because we could have a fair tax value of just regular sales tax. Everybody talks about all these high rates. I said no, it should be just regular sales tax like everything else. We don't need to have anything extra on our industry. We just need to be treated fairly.
One last thing, what are your feelings about the veto by um, the governor?
Oh yeah, Glenn Youngkin, he's been really difficult to work with. His administration, not favorable to hemp or cannabis at all, no matter what they try to say or whatever picture they try to paint. We were in the trenches with this, and we could not have a worse governor when it comes to cannabis. So we're going to thankfully see, another year now. We got one more year of him, and we got the election coming up in 2025 for the new governor. And we really have to have a pro-cannabis, pro-hemp governor this time around. He sort of walked a tightrope and said he wasn't going to change the cannabis laws, and he was sort of saying, wasn't he was going to. We thought maybe he'd be pro-business and pro, opening up the business to Virginia of the hemp industry and increasing everything and getting some common sense regulation. But they went on the side of big marijuana, big pharma, big health, and crushed our industry basically. So we've got to clean up all the mess that his administration has made. The veto, he played games and said, "Oh well, if they figure it out, let them figure it out, and then I'll." So he was playing games with it. He wasn't going to sign anything. He wants to run for president, which I don't think he'll ever be. I don't think he'll ever have a chance. And but that's his goal. That this was just a stepping stone to put a corporate Carlyle Group guy into the White House, into the governorship of Virginia to get him there. And so people see through that. The people don't like phonies. They don't like fakes. And they can see through that. And that's why he's not a very popular governor. Republicans don't like him. They call him a rhino. And of course, Democrats don't like him. And you have some people, I guess, that do like him. But
I'm not a fan.
I think he had a great opportunity, to do some good things, and he really missed it.
Yes,
So
he
we
did.
gotta we gotta put the heat on the next governor to make sure that during the campaign, if they're gonna make promises that they're gonna keep, the first thing they're gonna do is get into office and legalize hemp and cannabis fully and create a free market for small businesses, farmers to be included, and to totally bust up the monopoly system. That's a prerequisite for any support that we should give to the next governor.
Definitely. Now, Senator Rouse says that he actually wants to go and present another bill this year. Do you think that there's any chance, or are we just pretty much relegated to wait until after Youngkin leaves office?
I don't have any faith that Youngkin's going to do anything positive for cannabis. But people do change. Maybe there's pressure. Maybe one of his advisors has said, "Hey, the polling shows this now. You got to really, change whatever." So that happens in politics if people want to get to the next level, and if they are unpopular in a certain way, I could see maybe some sense would be made, and then he would. But the governor has to work on the bill with Senator Rouse, with the people. Like they haven't done that. They've been real hands off. So if he starts working with the bill, then I will say yes. We're gonna work with everybody, and we're gonna get this to the finish line. But if he's again standoffish and it's just the Democrats coming up with the bill and thinking, and they're gonna of course do that because for political purposes, Senator Rouse is running for lieutenant governor, and I do trust him. I do think he's a good person, and I think he would be pro cannabis and pro small business and pro farmers. I think he does try to look out for us. But again, he's a politician too, and there's a lot of things that go on in Richmond, and a lot of money going around, which I wish wasn't the case. So, it's a pay to play system there too. As we see in our government, with everything and the power structure. So, yeah, it's all to be determined. But our job is to hold them accountable as our representatives. They don't do what they want; they do what we want, and so we just have to make enough noise and hold them accountable, and also be firm with them and not be so, "Oh, it's okay, you screwed us over, it's fine, whatever." Like some people think you have to just, oh, it'd be so nice. No, we don't agree with that. We need to put pressure on these politicians, point out the bad ones, praise the good ones. That's why we have a report card every year of our politicians in Virginia, and we give them a grade average on, and we look at how they voted and their stances and their statements, and if we know them personally, that comes into play. But yeah, we give them a grade, and a lot of people didn't do too well the past few years because everybody was under this PR campaign that the bad and evil hemp was ruining Virginia, when that wasn't the case. So we just needed some regulation. That's all we're asking for. Some simple common sense regulations. Keep it out of the hands of children. Knockoff products, candy imitation products should be illegal. That's a no-brainer. You can't infringe upon trademarks. That makes it illegal on its face value. But we also shouldn't be marketing cannabis edibles to children. And
Exactly.
this happens in other industries. We can accept that. Alcohol industry, tobacco industry, they have to abide by these rules. So I think it's reasonable.
What do you think?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think taking it off Schedule 1 is definitely a good thing, right? That's the worst schedule. It's a terrible schedule, and it really puts a lot of restrictions on any sort of research. So going on down is good. I think plant medicine really shouldn't, certain plant medicines shouldn't be on a schedule. If they have to be on a schedule, then it should be Schedule 5. I think cannabis would be, more definitely suited to Schedule 5. But if we go to Schedule 3, that's good that we're going down. But to your point, I agree that it was a political move by the Biden administration to show they're doing something for cannabis because that's the polling and that's what the voters want. I think it was definitely a political move to show, hey, we did this, but it definitely was a handout because really big pharma is gonna be the ones to utilize the Schedule 3. Again, it doesn't change it. It doesn't. The laws just didn't happen where now you can just have a free market everywhere in the United States. So it's still going to control it strictly, and states still have a lot of monopolistic control over it. Where and then also the interstate commerce and everything. So what we need is a bill that legalizes cannabis and it creates set up banking industries and insurance and all the legitimate industries, and you have to spell it out that this is a legitimate product that can be regulated in states. Of course, states can do their own regulations, but it would treat it like anything else that is in the marketplace, and just have keep the feds out of it, let the states decide how they're going to regulate, but we need an interstate commerce just like we do with the alcohol. We have an alcohol industry, alcohol ABC board, right, in a lot of these states that regulate the state, but you can also take that alcohol that you make in the state and you can go across state lines with it. So we just need that simple clause as well.
I agree. And sir, thank you so much for your time.
Just that, get to Virginia folks and all across the nation actually to make sure you get engaged with your politicians, with the ones that are running and the future politicians, like our governor. That's the next governor. We need to start now with the lobbying efforts, with the advocacy efforts, and then just also support the folks that are doing the work. I mean, if everybody that believed in this mission gave $50, we would have $100,000 easily and be able to really fight back. But we are only a small coalition that gets a certain budget, and we're very appreciative for the folks that donate, but we just need it to be a larger scale, and maybe even larger donations. And we've never been about the money, but we at some point you do have to pay for certain things and certain lobbyists that we have, tried to get into certain conversations with legislation, and sometimes you need that. It's unfortunate. I hate to have to resort to that, but we have had to use lobbyists and pay, on our budget to pay for things like that, and our lobby days, of course, and anything that we do for throughout the year for these means of education and getting these bills. So we always usually have a bill or two that we put out a year as well, and we work with a legislator on that. So yeah, just support your local groups that are fighting the good fight. VAHemp.org if you want to come see ours.